All right, Speed City fans, we are over the top excited to have our next guest after watching him win the IndyCar road course at Indianapolis. Will Power. Will, welcome to Speed City.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, and congratulations for the win. It was really exciting watching you. And I'll tell you, Will, one of my favorite parts was watching your wife's face the last couple laps of coverage. It looked like you were winning your very first race.
Yep, she's very invested in the results. So she gets very nervous, obviously, but she also is getting nervous because she wants me to have a win. She knows that what it means to me and all that. So that's why she's that way. But mainly she's that way for safety. She's seen me have quite a few broken bones and bad hits and crashes. So yeah.
Yeah, well, my question is, having watched you race for so many years now, how do you explain 2021? Because, like you said in the press, the team have supplied you a great car. It's just, I don't know, it's just a weird one. What do you think has not been going right for you? I mean, IMS has always been good to you, but really, it's been a weird season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, if you had a win in Detroit and a top five at a double points race at Indianapolis, which Indianapolis was a brake failure, and Detroit, the car didn't start. So if you add those points up, that's a significant amount of points right there. And that would put me right in the hunt for the championship. So just unfortunate that those two races worked out the way they did. Just gave up massive points, and even just getting the Detroit one back puts me right back in the game and gives me a shot. So, yeah.
Would you argue that it's go on?
I was going to say I have too many of them every year. Too many of the big points hits. That's it. Every year I win races. I'm always really fast. I always get poles, and I always have too many big DNFs or something goes wrong on it's too big of a scale, and it just can't seem to. And don't believe me, I reflect on that a lot and try to understand it as a product of the way I race, but they're always different stuff. Sometimes last year we had a lot of issues in pit lane. This year it was brake failure. The car didn't start because of some weird system glitch. I mean, just random things happen. But I have not been also very good in qualifying. I'll say that. I have not been good in qualifying.
Well, Will, did you come here to Indy to thinking that you're coming home, you've had so much success here? Did you come in confident, at least with that feeling that you've done so well here before, that you had a shot to do well here again?
Well, we struggled there in May, so we took a pretty close look at why and all that. So I was actually kind of hoping that we would be competitive, which we were. And, I think we stumbled across some good stuff that might help us for the rest of the season. So, it's always good when you're on the pace and not confused, because these days it's such a competitive series. It's easy to get on the back foot and start second guessing yourself on setup and everything really, and even the way you drive. So a good result helps a lot of things.
Well, we cover Formula One as well, and it's so different as a sport in terms of what you're saying, how competitive Indy is. And, in Formula One, maybe four guys can potentially win a race, whereas it just seems to me that the competitiveness of Indy in the last 3 years, with the emergence of the likes of Colton Herta, VK, so many other youngsters coming through, and they've been on it. The older guard, as it were, yourself, Dixon, and a few others, are really being pushed by these kids who are taking the points that maybe in previous years you could not count on, but there was just so many different, guys who are capable of winning now.
Yeah, that's right. You've got, who's even going to guess who's going to win, week in, week out? Who's could guess? It's anyway, it's just impossible. It's 15 guys who could be on pole, more 20 guys in the series are just phenomenal drivers. So it's it's a tough series in that respect, and the parity and the level of the teams now. It's all ramped up to this. Everyone's the same. Everyone's got the same opportunity. You can go to Dale Coyne and win races, or you can be at Penske and win races. I mean, it's as you see when you see the spread of teammates throughout the field. Sometimes you see Colton on pole and his teammates be way down there, or you see one of our guys on pole, and all the rest of us are spread out through the field. So, tough series. Very, very different to Formula One. Very different. Just a different deal. It's Formula One's a manufacturer championship, I suppose. So there's just no car the same. It's only they're all different. Every single team is different. Even I'm not even sure the cars between. We know with having a spec car how hard it is to get all the cars the same. Even though they are the same, you get the same stuff. It just simply is very difficult to have really good quality control. But Formula One, I think if you're getting paid $30 million, I guess you could spend a few seasons there. But honestly, if it was the same pay as IndyCar, you'd certainly pick IndyCar if you want to have a good time and have competitive racing and have a chance to win week in, week out.
I think Grosjean feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably having the most fun he's had since he left GP2. He's probably having the most fun. Like he knows that he has a chance to go in and win week in, week out, and the racing's great and all the cars are the same. Like you're not just going to run around fighting one person all day, which is your teammate. And then, tough gig. I mean, obviously Formula One's the pinnacle of motorsport, but the way every other series in the world is heading is everything's even. Everything's the same.
Will, I saw you take a selfie with Roman Grosjean and Colton Herta at the end. I mean, Grosjean, you're right. He smiles so much now compared to when he's in Formula One. Have you guys, welcomed him into the club at IndyCar?
Yeah, I mean, he had a reputation in Formula One of being very aggressive and doing some pretty 50-50 moves, but he's actually, now that he's legitimately a chance to win week in, week out, he's a very good driver. He's putting it together very well. Maybe that was just his situation in Formula One, a bit of frustration in there that he just has never had a chance to win and just dug too deep for anything he could get. But I mean, everyone that comes to IndyCar paddock realizes it seems as though it's a much more friendly paddock. But I don't know. I think that probably happens in most series when you're racing the same guys for a few years, week in, week out. I mean, you have that kind of respect where, we all respect what each other does. And, you can see on the track the way we race each other for the most part is pretty respectful, but still very hard.
Last point on Grosjean, he gets his first oval this Saturday night. I mean, just your thoughts. I remember when you started out having done, Formula Renault, and you came into Indy and obviously had to go through that baptism yourself. So how do you think that's going to be?
We got to test there. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different discipline. It's understanding the limit of the car is a lot tougher because you can't run off or spin off or anything without a big accident. So it's something he just has to creep up on, and it's actually a track that resembles a road course more than most ovals. You do downshift and brake into turn 1, 2, and so it has a bit more of that feel. I think I think he'll take to it pretty well. It's not a side-by-side sort of race either. It's a very in-line race. You just kind of fall into place and you can't really pass anyone. It's it's tough, to put on a good race there. But it's if you're a rookie, it's probably not a bad thing that you're not going side-by-side a lot. And, Iowa would be a different story for someone like him. Very different stories. A lot of degradation. A lot of, here, it doesn't really dag. And it's very difficult to pass.
Hey, Will, I want to go back to something Jonathan was talking about, the new young drivers, but correct me if I'm wrong, you turned 40 this year and you just won your 40th race. That's got to feel pretty good.
Definitely. As hard as it is to win our race in IndyCar, to have 40 wins is amazing. And to still be winning in my 40s is amazing. Still qualifying at front, racing guys that are 20 years younger than me is, pretty cool. I'm just still loving it and still get very frustrated when I'm not competitive and, try to really understand why. So, it's very, very happy and a relief really to win, to be 15 and the 15 years in a row now of a win a year, at least a win a year. I think there's only one season where I've won less than 2 races, and that was in 15. And so hopefully I can win multiple races this year.
Well, without going into too much detail, I mean, I know that, like I said, you're a senior member now, but something that young racing drivers don't tend to talk about because they don't like to dwell on the negative and they don't want to dwell on a slump potentially. But how do you do you deal with it yourself? Do you look to other people to help? How do the wife, whatever it might be, but how do you personally deal with the fact that, I mean, each and every one of you wants to be a winner and are winners, but how do you deal with that situation when you're not the champion?
Well, it's been quite a while for me for that. Like, I haven't been a champion for a long time. So I think if you're having a slump, the quicker you get on top of it, the better. The quicker you don't, start thinking it's bad luck or this or that you realize that there is some work to do and there is some things that you've got to learn and change, the better. You can't dwell on it for long. It's a bit of a lesson this year. It's the first time I felt like I've had a true slump of actual performance. And, you've still comes down to the same thing. You gotta work at it. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would win.
Will, you seem like to me that you're so competitive. I mean, when you're not doing well, I can see the frustration. You can almost see it with a helmet on. I guess we just know you so well that if you're not doing well, you're so frustrated, so competitive. You think that helps stave off some of those slumps, that you've got that fire burning so hot?
No, I've always said it. There's only a handful of people in every sport. Not even a handful. It's a couple of people who have that absolute. It's just a little bit extra, and it's all about it's a fire in the belly. It really is. It's that just ridiculously strong desire to win, and that frustration when you don't. Which, the frustration can be a negative, honestly, but it comes with that personality type. Big frustration without results comes with the personality type that wins races and wins championships. It's, it's the best guys in the world in anything, business, motorsport, football, whatever it is. They all have the same trait. They all have that same attitude. Tom Brady's the classic example of that. The guy that just seriously puts the work in. Simple as that, and has a fierce desire and a bit of a perfectionist. It's not ideal for family life and all that, but it's the sacrifice you make if you want to be exceptional at something.
Well, you've been really vociferous in the press this last week. You got stuck behind Hinchcliffe for 20 laps, and there was talk of you had NASCAR with you, and there's talk of that lucky dog rule. And I know you you spent a lot of time talking about it, but just for our viewers, what's the answer effectively? Because basically they, as a backmarker, they want to stay on the lead lap, but they're just ruining the race for you. That's
right. The answer is giving cars that are a lap down their lap back under yellow. Yep. That's the answer. It's very simple, because no one's going to complain about getting their lap back if they're a lap down. And no one's going to complain if there's a blue flag rule, because they know they're going to get the lap back and they're not going to fight you. I mean, it's a win-win situation, and it's an easy solution. So it's certainly something to me that really needs to be talked about in the off season with IndyCar. I mean, why in this competitive field that we have now, where you have 9 different winners in 11 races, and 12 races, and he still got back markers fighting the leader. I mean, it's such a mix-up field. We don't need to be having any manipulation of races to create action, falsely create action for the viewers. I mean, we get enough of that in IndyCar. It's really the most competitive series in the world. So yeah, the answer simply is give those guys a lap back on the yellow. You know, I mean, yeah, simply all of them, not just one lucky dog. It needs to be just give them their lap back. Simple. And we don't have that many yellows, so it's not a big deal.
So, Will, what about getting ready for this weekend at St. Louis? Are you guys, I mean, you got a particular strategy, or what are you guys thinking for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, all we can do is go off the information that we had last year. Scott McLaughlin did test there with a rookie day, and got a little bit of information there, but we just got an hour and a half practice. You got to be very quick and efficient with your changes and understand the direction of the car. It's not really, you can't really do much on the sim because ovals are so finicky to get the car exactly right with condition and tire and all that stuff. So, yeah, very much a track position race. Very much a track position race.
What do you mentioned, Scott? How do you feel he's got on? Because, you know, if you kind of measure him against, you know, Jimmy Johnson, and maybe that's not a fair comparison, but I mean, the way he's taken to it and how competitive he's been, what's your take on how he's getting on?
He's done about how you would expect someone coming over, especially if you're learning to drive an open wheel car. Not that he had to, I mean, he raced at a very high level in Australia for a long time. So he was far from a rookie in that respect, you know, as far as the approach you take. And, you know, he's not your typical rookie that throws it off a lot and is learning through crashes. I mean, he's kept it on the island for the most part. And, yeah, he's done well. He's just accumulating experience. He's going through the typical roller coaster ride you get on the first year of trying to learn something in a series that's really competitive, where he gets, you know, he gets a break and he qualifies in the fast six. Texas, he got second. Indy Road Course, the first race in May, he qualified in the fast six, you know, top six, which was a big game for him. But then, you know, I think he thought that, okay, now I've got that, I'll probably start doing that more often. But it's your typical, you know, first year for someone learning is just a roller coaster ride. You struggle to IndyCar. So the tracks and setups and everything is so different week to week that if you nail one, you're not going to. It's not a given that you'll nail the next. They're all such different setups and philosophies and the way they drive. Some tracks are bumpy with no grip. Some tracks are bumpy with grip. Some are super smooth with a heap of grip. Some are ovals. Some are super speedways. It's such a mixed bag that it is tough to get the whole package right. Like from what I've seen, you know, an actual true rookie coming in, it really takes them 3, even 4 years to become an absolute contender. You know, become someone that you can count on to be in the championship.
Hey, speaking of Scott and bumps, did you talk to him about him going airborne towards the beginning? That was great television.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been great for his back, but yeah, that was a big move right there. He just bailed straight over the curb. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, Will, I know we heard family when you first came on. We're going to let you go, but I got to ask you, we got, what is it, 3 or 4 races left? And what you think your next best chance to win again?
This weekend. I led a lot of laps last year. I was very frustrated that I ended up, I think, second or third, but I think it was third. But after leading so many laps, so definitely have a shot, really, for the rest of the season. There's all good tracks for me, and it's just a matter of putting it together.
Well, we sure miss you guys here in Austin. I wish that you guys could come back here, but we do love watching the sport. So we appreciate your time today, and congratulations again on the win.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Will. Regards to the family.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.